Good morning and welcome to Cheche, the show where opinion counts. My name is Charles Ogambo, standing in for Udwa Kamimo this morning, and 7 days ahead of the 26th October general election. So much is happening, a lot is spinning over with each and every new morning, but to help us just understand the perspective of things as they are, it's my pleasure to introduce in the panel this morning our guest, His Excellency Erastus Mwencha, the just past Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, back from Liberia, where you had a first-hand experience on the presidential elections. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I have Mr. Mohamed Hashi. Some people call him Hirsi. Yeah. Hashi. I think the right pronunciation is Hashi. Yeah, Hirsi. Yeah, the chairman of Kenya Tourist Federation and also a member of Cheche, a hotelier by profession. Yeah. A very ardent blogger on national, social, economic and political issues. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And of course, always a pleasure to have with us Mr. Charles Owino Wahongo, the National Police Service spokesman, who is also our guest this morning. Charles, welcome to the show. As always, our panelists, today, Mr. Mutegi, I quit and leave you alone. This is quite interesting. I don't know whether I'll be giving my opinions or asking the questions. Mutegi, now.
You do both.
Thank you very much.
Opinions and
welcome.
Ask questions.
Mr. Mwencha, I will start with you. News has just come in about the resignation of one of the commissioners of the IEBC 7 days into elections, Commissioner Roslyn Akombe. What do you take of this?
Very worrisome, because having an independent institution that is in place and ready to conduct a free and a fair election is very important. But of course, one has to understand the circumstances under which she is quitting her job in this manner. And if those things are indeed in the commission, then I think it's important for us to have a look at them so that we can be sure that we have an election that would be credible to the people.
Mohammed?
Yeah, I think it's regrettable because with very few days to go to the repeat poll, we did not expect that, and obviously this just goes ahead to make things look more precarious. But I just hope that the remaining IBC team, and I'll leave that to the legal side, for them to address these things. But I believe that IBC should be able to come out strongly and give us, direction that the 26th that we should be able to proceed, because as business community, election is really a big thing for us, and it's a big question mark on the way forward for our country today.
Charles, one of the issues that Commissioner Akombe has quoted in her resignation letter is the issue of safety for her life. And she quotes the sad murder or killing of the late Chris Msando, which she says has not been resolved to date, and it happened 9 days ahead of the elections on 8th August. You are the body mandated to provide security.
Yeah, I think we had provided them with adequate security, all the commissioners as required. They required even extra securities, which they got. But you may not relate the death of one person to yourself, because the circumstances could be completely different. But you see, ordinarily as a policeman, I would only term it as an act of cowardice, which is normal, because people have different personalities, and you cannot force a personality into someone to soldier on and be able to deliver her mandate. So it's within her rights, but as a security agency, we are grateful that she's secure up to the day she has left, and therefore there is no responsibility on us to talk of her insecurity.
Do you have records of having received any reports from her about threats to her life? Because she alludes to that too.
I don't think we have any direct reports on threat to her life.
But you remember that she sent her brother abroad earlier on, claiming that he was also under threat. So it's not a new thing.
But you see, as a policeman, I depend on record. I don't talk off record. For example, example, if you have a threat on your life and you don't report it and it is not in record directly, then I would not be right to comment on it and say that there's a threat because I don't have record on that. But as usual, given those positions, there would be a threat, and that is why all of them are given security, because there would be a definite threat because you are doing a sensitive job. What would matter is where is the threat coming from. But there's a general assumption. Even His Excellency the President is given security because it's a position that would have threats. So there's nothing absolutely wrong to say that there would be threat if you sit in a certain position.
In a sensitive office.
Yes.
Mutegi, your take on this resignation?
To me, as a journalist, it's very intriguing. It's much more than she's saying. To me, I think, you remember she had been to America before and she had been stopped at the airport.
Actually, her going to America,
yes,
the one that was published, yes, was quite dramatic.
Very dramatic. And again, know that she has a job. She has a job somewhere in America, although she is on leave. And I think she just went back to her job. But more intriguing is the reason she's giving. Recently, she had been to train people in certain areas where there are intimidations. And that's another issue that Mr. Wino will have to tell us. What is going to happen in those areas that are saying they won't take part in elections. Anyway, to me, this is intriguing, and I think it's much more than she's saying.
Quite a number of issues she raises, including the credibility of the commissioners themselves, because in one of the paragraphs in her resignation letter, she says, and I quote, that she's perturbed by the fact that commissioners go into plenary meetings with preconceived positions that influence their voting without due consideration of issues at hand.
There was, in fact, in the social media, I don't know whether it's true or not, that at one meeting in the session, the commissioners ganged against the chairman, and the chairman had to go out and tell them, okay, when you make a decision, you tell me. So it means there are serious problems in the commission itself.
How cowardly would it be, Mr. Mwencha? Because, like Charles says, it's an act of cowardice from where he sits. But she says she's tired of putting up her face on TV to explain positions that she does not believe in, just for show of solidarity.
Well, I don't want to comment on what Charles is saying concerning cowardice, because a threat to life is a very serious threat. But what I take consideration in his statement is the fact that there is no record in their books indicating that she is complained. But again, he says that they've gone out of their way to make sure that they are secure. But you see, the point that I want to make here is independent institutions must be left to work independently. And I think we should make this clear to the political class, to say, leave this institution to operate as it's supposed to operate. Obviously, the problem they may be facing comes from the political class interfering, or some other persons. I don't think it's the electorate that is going there to put pressure on them. So I think the point here is we should really encourage the political class to keep off so that we can allow this institution to provide comfort to the people that when they vote, their vote will count, and that the laws, the procedures that they will follow will be impartial. And I think that is a message that we should really give to the political class.
Mohammed, how possible is it to keep away the players with vested interests from looking at the referee? The politicians here, how best is it possible to ask them to keep off?
I think that's the biggest challenge we face, as Kenya and, as an African country. Because there's a very thin line between office holders, the political side, and any independent body. So that to me is something that is very difficult to implement. But we must give ourselves a lot of credit as Kenya. I think we've done a lot when you compare ourselves with the rest of the continent. Going back to the resignation of the commissioner, in one of the opening statements is that in the recent happenings in specific 4 counties, she talked about Homa Bay, Kisumu, Siaya, where they went to train and to brief the officials who were supposed to be conducting the repeat poll on the the violence and people being stopped from getting trained and the threats. Now, when you look at it, we are looking at 4 or 5 counties. We've got 47 counties in this country. So when you take an office, it also comes with a lot of expectations and a lot of challenges. So for me, it's highly regrettable, that she left office, and she also claims that there's a lot of partisan, thinking on the side of the remaining commissioners. I'm very sure if you speak to the current commissioners who are remaining, they will also have something to say about her. So I think there's a reason why.
Of he said, she said.
Absolutely, yes. So I think in leadership, you don't throw in the towel when it really matters most. Again, I don't want to downplay issues of personal safety. That's at the end of the day depends on an individual and what they want to do. But my dear friend here, who is in charge of security, has assured that they've been given security, and they did confirm actually their security had been beefed up, and it's very critical. But it's very unfortunate that she opted to leave. But from our side, where we sit as a business community, we want everything to go on as planned. And we'll come to that
the overarching issue here, Mutegi, I'll bring you into this. She mentions the credibility and the fairness of the exercise. She says, given the level of preparedness, she does not believe there will be credible and fair elections, and she does not want to be party to anything that does not meet that threshold.
But she has been there all the time. How can she know they are not ready? And she was the face of the commission. Yes. Now he comes the last minute to tell us that she doesn't believe. What did she do about it? Why I know there is those challenges we are talking about in those counties, which Mr. Nani here
will be telling us more.
Be telling us how they are going to safeguard those areas to make sure that the Electoral Commission has returning officers, presiding officers who will work in those counties. But those, as you said, there are only 4. The rest of the country may be good. But to me, I don't think it's that she went just because of security. No.
You think there is much more?
I think there is much more.
I actually agree with Mutegi that there's much more to it. And it's actually highly regrettable. We expect someone at that level, really, not to throw in the towel with 7 days, to the event.
Now, we are not going to be speculative to try to presume what this much more was. But Charles, Mutegi has talked about this several times. The other gentleman also mentioned it. Security for the people who are supposed to preside over these elections. One of the conditions under which IEBC can postpone an election in a given area is the issue of security. We have seen places where training has not gone on. Although we saw a statement from the police service yesterday about giving guarantee and warning people who interrupt these trainings. But you and I know that there are trainings that didn't go on.
Or disrupted.
First of all, it's important to get the background of the problem. These are a political period. That most of the problems that are arising are political challenges. And many a times as a service, as much as we are one of the instruments that is given to a sitting president the time he takes over, we are given to a sitting president for purposes of maintenance of law and order, preservation of life, and ensuring that the properties of Kenyans are preserved and the persons who are here. That is basically our role. We are not supposed to be political in nature in the manner in which we handle our business as a security agency. And many a times you see political problems have only political solutions. They may not have security solutions. But we have a mandate as an institution to ensure that we provide security no matter the political situation. For example, you are aware that the political leader, the leader of the opposition and a competitor in this coming election has strongholds in some of the areas that you have mentioned, and he has come out and said that he has pulled out of the elections and there would be no elections. That means that there are imminent challenges that we may face, just like we have faced challenges in trying to restore order in the same places. But as an agency, we can also not throw the towel. We have to ensure that we provide security, because as long as the elections are on in accordance to the law, and that the elections will be carried out on 26th, we must provide security to all those polling centers. I want to remind you, there is no law in this country that makes an election compulsory to individuals. You have a choice to go and cast your vote or not. There are countries, I think like Australia, where it's compulsory. You must vote. Here it is not compulsory. So we would only request that if any Kenyan in any part of the country is of the opinion that he is not going to vote, it is his democratic right to exercise that that opinion, to stay away. But it would not be fair to come and interrupt the setting of a polling station. For example, we would have polling stations, they would have ballot boxes, they'll have ballot papers. I would only appeal that each and every person gives respect to that. If anybody would have an issue, we have very good structural judicial systems that you can complain to, just like it happened in the just concluded election. So if we respect our judiciary, then I think it would only be prudent, because if we incite the public and ask them to go and destroy property, or ask them to go and beat up the election officials, then the police will have a responsibility.
Do you have any cases of
yes, even this morning, even this morning we have had just a case from Awasi where an official was going for training and she was attacked on the way. Due to incitement? What would it be, Charles? Would it just be from nowhere? We may not say, an incitement may not be direct, but the thing is that once a certain political class or a certain region that supports a certain political wing makes a decision, it could be out of sycophancy, it could be out of patriotism to that individual, which is negative patriotism. But our take as a security agency is, we are not in competition with anyone. For your information, Charles, we have police officers who have been there in the last 4 governments. We have police officers who have not retired. They have served government. Who have served the late President Jomo Kenyatta, have served President Moi. I started during President Moi's time. We have served President Kibaki, we have served President Uhuru. And some of us, like me, I still have over 10 years to serve. I'll serve 2 more, 3 more presidents. So what I'm saying is that we have a duty to protect. And the best thing to do is, if you're not going to participate, just keep off. Because the moment you threaten the life of another person, of an officer or of an election officer, you know what it means in law. That's a good enough police. The police will not have an alternative but to protect the lives of the property and you must know, Charles, that these rights are not for a single person. The Bill of Rights, the rights that we enjoy, the rights and fundamental. You enjoy it until you infringe on somebody else. All the rights and freedoms that we enjoy in this country is not restricted to one individual. It is there to all of us. But so, Charles, sorry to cut you short, and I see Mutegi is really seeking satisfaction. Erastus will come in, but does it mean, other than the plea, you're only guaranteeing security for electoral officials at the polling station? What about pre, during, and post? Charles, you're aware that we are committed to our work as a service, and I've told you these are political times, and there are political issues that we don't come in. We have a role purely to protect each and every citizen, and that's why I said not only a citizen, even our visitors who are here. What I've said is that when we are taking care of, because for example, we don't stop doing our normal work. We don't stop guarding people from robbers. We don't stop taking people to court for assaults and the rest. We continue with our work. We don't only do election security, but election security is part of our work. You are aware in just the last concluded elections, we did our work. As police officers, I don't think anybody has a problem with the security we gave. We are still going to give security, appropriate security to all citizens. But what we are saying, if you want to keep off the polling station, it's just fair that you keep off
and do not interfere.
Don't interfere with anybody coming, anybody leaving, or anybody who is conducting it. It's just fair like that.
Yes. First of all, to agree with what Charles is saying, that a political solution is required when there is a political issue. And indeed, when you look at the background of this election, first of all, when the election was nullified, there was a background to it. Areas that were identified which were problematic. And I think, to me, what has happened is that we have now gone to the public, particularly the political class, to appeal to the population and raise emotions.
With their emotions.
With their emotions. And I think that's why I agree with Charles, that this is where we need to concentrate to tell the people that tone down your talk. And
by we here you mean the political leaders.
Exactly. And in furtherance of that point, I think if you see these leaders sit down and talk, because from where I sit and the experience I've seen in Africa, is when you see leaders, people listen to the leaders a lot. And when they take a cue from leaders, then of course some of them may go to excesses. And then you ask the forces to say, go and solve a problem, it's a political. So here is my take. I would implore our leaders that in most cases when we say we can't talk, there is no conflict that is never solved without talking. But when we pass that threshold, when there's an opportunity to talk, we miss that opportunity, put ourselves in stress, we may even end up in some kind of conflict, but eventually we will talk. And so the earlier we can do that, the better. And then.
So are you suggesting that the President and the former Prime Minister should meet before 26th and talk?
I would appeal to our leaders that, to me, there is merit in that, in us talking, so that we can identify where the problem is. Even the leaders talking themselves will temper down the temperature a lot.
Mohammed, I want to come to you, but Erastus, you carry with you almost 30 years, 3 decades of experience in subcontinental and continental economic and political affairs, a time during which so many countries underwent similar situations or worse off. What exactly would be your advice to Wananchi, leave alone the political leaders? Because as people say, they will hop into a plane and fly out of the country.
Exactly. Well, the Wananchi, I mean, you've seen what Kepsa is saying. The Wananchi are suffering at the moment. You can see the economy. It's hurting. You can see, pointers that if you drag this kind of environment, things can only get worse. And once you get that situation where a conflict now flares, it is those mothers, it is those children that will be sleeping hungry or running around or being, tramped about by fighting forces. I would appeal to Wananchi. Don't take everything that the leaders come and talk about in rallies as gospel truth. Interrogate it. And in most cases, take them to account. Let the leaders in communities educate people to know the value of peace and how to safeguard it, so that we can have a stable society. Kenya is very, very much blessed. After 53 years, we have conducted many elections. We have had peaceful transitions. In spite of what happened in 2007, we have accumulated an experience. By now, we should have a body of knowledge of how to conduct ourselves and how to move forward. And Wananchi have seen this. Even 10 years ago, you see the problem is our memories tend to be very short. We forget what happened 10 years ago when that situation arose. It was not easy for any one of us. And when emotions are high, we all think, well, it will be an exception to me. But that is not, that is a naive thinking. So my appeal is to Wananchi, don't just buy stock barrel and you know what.
Then is it possible for Wananchi to assume or not to buy who can shamble everything the political leadership says? You have a long experience in covering politicians and representing.
First of all, like Mr. Charles here was saying about negative psychopathy, or some of them do it because of that loyalty.
What we chose to call patriotism to individuals.
Negative patriotism to individuals. But others are paid.
Yes.
Others are paid to do whatever they want to do. I heard the former Prime Minister saying that what happened yesterday in Lare, some people are paid or they've been influenced by the system, the establishment to disrupt the meeting. Because I don't think in America there is that loyalty of things. I think it was all state managed. So I think there are two things: either that loyalty, which will force people to do negative things, or people being paid to do those negative things.
We'll be taking a short commercial break, but before we do that, Mohammed, your take on all this. The Rastas says political problems, political situations. The reason why we have political problems is because of political interference in independent institutions.
That's true to some extent, and it's high time, you know, we try to sanitize, you know, our politics. And politics have become so rough to the point that it's suffocating every other space, including the business, including, the economy, the society, everything. But let me go back to the Supreme Court ruling, which was very, very clear. And it was a null, and we had to go back to another repeat poll. It was clear that within 60 days,
as the law says.
As the law says, you know, I mean, it's important that we respect the rule of law. You know, you may have your rights to do A, B, C, but remember it also comes with responsibilities. So within 60 days, go and conduct repeat election. That were the prayers.
As provided for by the law.
By the law, and those are the prayers, and they were granted. And that's what we were waiting for. So within 60 days, conduct it. And you know, Owino has clearly said that, and it's true, that it's not a must that you vote. And let me take you back to 97. It's not the first time that a candidate declined and said that he will not participate. We had Kenneth Matiba then, who was a very strong contender to become president in this country. And he opted to stay out, and he stayed out in a peaceful manner. And those are the days when a presidential candidate also was a member of parliament. And recall he made the infamous technical appearance, you know, in parliament. So the thing is, if you decide to opt to stay away, it's important that you leave others to go on, because I'll go back to Supreme Court. It was clear that you conduct election within 60 days. Other technicalities are to be addressed by the dependent body. And on Sunday, when you went through the papers, there was a full 2-page by the IEBC team answering every question that was raised. I think that's very, very important. We should not move away from that. But when you bring in violence to stop a voter or the process to take place, then I think you're crossing the line, and I don't think that's what the Supreme Court... By
bringing in violence here, are you referring to any political leadership as having brought violence?
I'm not suggesting that a political party is behind it, but at the end of the day, when you look at the stronghold that are clearly saying we are not going to hold elections, yeah, that is wrong. To the point that you are threatening people who are supposed to be conducting the election. You have a choice. You can stay away. Not a problem. Even on the 8th, not all Kenyans voted. I personally know many Kenyans who opted not to vote for various reasons. We have almost 20-something million voters. How many went to the ballot? 14, 15?
About 21 million.
So where are the 9 million or whatever? Yeah. So I think those are the crucial things we need to address. And then to pick up from His Excellency Muncha, the Kenyans are no longer so ignorant the way we think they are. Kenyans are very well informed. But we still have a group that on both sides, that I'll say...
So does it mean, when you say they are very well informed, does it mean they are making deliberate choices and decisions?
Yes, yes. And sometimes the political class take a lot for granted that they will consider Kenyans, you know, like just, you know, a herd of, you just hard people the way you want. Yeah, those days are gone. Kenyans are very well informed. Even when you go through social media, apart from those crazy bloggers who have been paid on both sides, it's both sides, by the way.
Who I see you trying to take on every other time.
Yeah, I take them head on, because at the end of the day, we have a country to look after. And I think I appeal to the professionals and all the corporate guys. We need to speak up and deal with these bloggers. They're not more than 40 and 40 on both sides, let me tell you. As I'm speaking here right now, they are there, busy. We call them the keyboard warriors. And the ones who
We'll be taking a commercial break at that point. Just mentioned the keyboard warriors. We'll be right back after a short break with His Excellency Erastus Mwencha, former Deputy Chairperson of African Union Commission, Mohamed Hassi.